What's up, good people? My name's AJ. You might know me as the world's coolest CFA charter holder, and today I am talking about a level 2 study strategy. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to avoid most general study strategy topics. I have discussed those in some of my earlier videos. Again, the most important of those being spending enough time studying. For me, that was a lot more than 300 hours. Making sure that you're putting in the time, you're doing enough practice questions, you're also staying focused during that time. All those types of topics are probably more important than what I'm talking about here today, but I'm avoiding those. Specifically, I want to talk about what I literally did each day while studying for level 2. And with level 2, you have vignettes, so they're pretty unique to the CFA program. The level 3 PM section uses them as well, but they're totally new to anyone who had passed level 1 is now taking level 2. So I'm going to talk about those, exactly what I did to prepare for them, because they work a little bit differently than regular multiple choice questions. And if you like the information, then of course you could apply this to your own study process to improve your ability to pass the exam. Now, my basic answer here is going to be exactly like you might have heard in many other areas of life, whether it have been sports or learning a trade or writing or speaking or anything like that, which is to practice exactly what you need to perform. So for the level 2 exam, you're probably familiar by now. The vignettes are paragraphs, anywhere from 1 to maybe 4 paragraphs, about a page in length, of information, kind of a background on a mini case. Then you have 6 questions that follow. And actually, shortly after I passed level 2, I think they adjusted that to some instances be 5 or 7 questions. So normally 6 questions that follow. They're not super easy to practice for. So I'm going to talk about exactly how I did that. And it could be worth mentioning too that I would agree with most others out there who say that level 2 is the most difficult exam. I don't think it's that much more difficult than a lot of people insinuate, and I've talked about that in my level 1 versus level 2 video, but it is a little bit more difficult than level 1. So making sure that you're studying efficiently and practicing these vignettes in the way that I'll describe here might be a good way to study efficiently, is going to be extremely important in improving your abilities to pass, because the exam is just so tough. So if you think back towards level 1, and maybe you just took level 1 pretty recently, you have the blue boxes, you have EOC questions, you also might have practice questions from your test prep provider. Those all are written pretty similarly to all the questions on the level 1 exam. So there's a sentence and 3 options, and then the next question is a couple sentences and 3 options. Each question is not related to the other. For level 2, of course, as I just described, you have a paragraph or set of paragraphs that are going to relate to the following handful of questions. And you want to be able to practice answering questions that way, because that's exactly how they're going to be written on the exam. Now, getting that practice is kind of the difficult part. But again, my primary point here is that you just need to do that practice. You need to practice answering vignettes as many times as you can before taking that exam. So let me talk about how you might get some of those practice questions. The best resources for me were prior exams. Now, the Institute posts the, I think, past 3 years of exams, questions and answers on their website. And side note, for level 3, they, to my understanding, don't post the exam questions exactly as they were written on the exam. They're like a little bit dumbed down. But anyway, for level 2, I don't believe they do that. So, for each rolling 3-year period, the prior year's exams are on the website. And then as a new year passes, they'll take off the 3rd year and add the most recent year. What that means, though, is just through them directly, you can only get access to 3 years exams, which is not nearly enough volume of practice vignettes that you want to be using. So the best resources are Google Doc links that people have compiled of PDFs that the Institute has released, practice exams they've released in the past, or copies of the real exams they've released in the past. You can get a link to a Google Drive that has 30 or 40 past level 2 exams all the way back to the 80s or whatever, that have those exact type of practice questions. Now, you have to be really careful about material that's been removed from the curriculum since those practice exams were written. And there are other good resources out there too that show you exactly which questions on prior year exams are no longer a part of the curriculum. So definitely double check those before you go wasting your time. But honestly, if you study the way I talk about studying, and you do a good 4 or 5 months of study over the material before you get into a couple months of practice questions, you'll run into some practice questions on those prior old exams that are written from material that's no longer a part of the curriculum, and you'll look at that and say, you know, I've really never seen this before. And I ran into that a couple times myself before I actually found these resources that tell you which question numbers from prior year exams that you might have the PDFs of are no longer relevant. So save yourself a little bit of time and struggle, and be confident that you're studying the right types of questions. For the level 3 exam, I know IFT had that guide. That's the one I used most recently. I don't remember exactly what I used for level 2. And by that guide, I mean, you know, the guide that shows you which question numbers from prior year exams are created from material that's no longer relevant, but you can do the same thing for level 2. So what you need to do is get the list of many prior exams from level 2, and your test prep provider may have vignette style questions to practice from. Do them all twice probably, because getting repetition in answering questions of that style is the biggest difference in level 2, and getting that repetition will be one of the biggest factors in you being able to pass the exam. And the reason I'm talking about these prior year practice exams is because when you go through the curriculum, of course, you'll still have blue boxes and EOCs, and you want to be doing those all as well. For me, that was throughout my reading of the curriculum, or at least reading of the study material of that curriculum. And it's good to practice that information, but again, that doesn't give you the structure that you need, and you'll be in a time crunch most likely. If you've watched any other level 2 prep videos, you'll hear about it being more of a challenge from a timing perspective than level 1 was, which is true, and it was true for me as well. So that's just another reason why practicing that vignette style question and answering is much more important than only doing the blue boxes and EOCs, which aren't gonna structure themselves that way and are not gonna prepare you for having to answer questions in that structure when the exam day comes around. So maybe someone link in the comments if you have one of those Google Doc or Google Drive links with all those past exams. They're out there I know they're on Analyst Forum or Reddit, so just you'll be able to find them. I'm not gonna link them in the description because I don't think I have them anymore, but someone else might. But again, I think aside from just learning the material, for level 2 specifically, getting in reps. It's like, you know, how Kobe shoots free throws or something. Rest in peace, Kobe, but he did them 10 million times, you know. So as close to 10 million reps in answering vignette style questions as you can get to before taking the level 2 exam will only improve your abilities to potentially pass that thing. So do it as much as possible. Use those resources I mentioned, and I hope it helps for you.